Okay, everyone, I'm going to show you what you need to be doing today for the bird marsupial osteology lecture. So we're in test 2 block right here, and what we have is a document with your list of terms, and this is supposed to be the Zoo 2 Part 1, but we are only going to be looking at the bird and the marsupial in the PowerPoint. So open up this document and that document, print them out if you have access to a printer, and have those by your side this entire time. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to look at the bird marsupial osteology YouTube lecture. So I've opened up all of these tabs that I'm going to be using already. The first one is this tab right here. And here's the video. It runs for about 40 minutes and it goes over your list of terms with the pictures that have been supplied to you in the PowerPoint presentation. So you can listen to this over and over again and look at the terms and look at the pictures as you go along. The second thing that I have here are a new tab known as I've called it online labs. And so this one is the first one I want you to look at. It's called Lizard Evolution Virtual Lab. Now, this one is actually going to go with the previous dissection that we did when we dissected the iguana, but it'll just be a cool little way to review some of that stuff. So here's the tab. You're going to launch the interactive, and as it launches, you don't have to do everything. Here are some things I definitely want you to look at. Watch this video, Module 1, Ecomorphs. Just press the play button and watch it. It has some good information. And then another cool one right here, Module 4, is a video about the dewlap colors and speciation and reproduction in lizards. So check those out. If you do have time and if you're curious, I always suggest that you look at some of these others. So you can look at Module 2 and Module 3, kind of cool. If you don't have time, then don't worry about those, just move on. Okay, so then going back to the Canvas page, the next online lab I want you to look at is this comparative anatomy of the domestic chicken. And so that's going to be this one right here. It's the same bio interactive group that does that. They do a really good job. So you click on that. What's cool about this is that you have a lateral view and you can kind of zoom in on this chicken. It's a nice, good quality picture of the different structures that have been taught to you in the YouTube lecture. You can flip it to the anterior view and you can zoom in here. What's cool about this is that the wishbone or the furcula, you can really see that right here. It was hard to see it in some of the other pictures that we had in the PowerPoint, but there it's very visible. So again, that's the collarbone and that's the other collarbone, and they're fused together in the middle right there. So the next thing to do is to read through this paragraph, which is some really good background information on birds in general. And you can click next. Now, sometimes it won't let you go forward until you interact, right? So this is about the hip joint, and it says before advancing to the next page, select the hip joint that is more similar. I do warn you, the mouse is kind of weird and where you need to click to answer this correctly, but once you've answered it correctly, you can go forward, and there's a lot of good information that's interactive for you regarding the evolution of birds and their connection to dinosaurs. The next one that we want to look at here is going to be the Bird Anatomy Video Lab, and so that's that one right there. So when I click on that one, let's see, it's going to be this one. This is a really good, informative, informational video on birds, their anatomy, but also the function of their anatomy. How does the anatomy relate to the function for birds? So watch that video. And the next one is going to be Avi's 3D. And let's look at that. This is cool. This is the dodo. and the dodo is now an extinct bird, but here we have a nice 3D model of it. Once we click on it, it's going to load, and what's cool about this is that you can grab it with your mouse and circle it around, and you can go into full screen right there. And the dodo bird, if you ever wondered if they had a wishbone, there it is. There's the furcula right there, making that U shape. So check that out as well, and try to find, I suggest, if you want to do a fun, cool exercise, take your list of terms and try to find the different structures from your list of terms on this extinct dodo bird. Okay, next, visual bird anatomy. Okay, so let's check that out. So this one's nice because it's got some very basic anatomy labeled for you on the bird, but it pronounces each one for you. And so you can click, for example, on furcula, and then you press the play button, and it says furcula for you with a nice British accent, I believe, which is always enjoyable to listen to. And then over here, let's see what the next module is. Let's see, visual bird anatomy. Okay, so we are doing marsupials. So the next one that we want to start looking at is the opossum, right? And so this opossum and its amazing story is going to be the next one over here. This is a fantastic document on the opossum and a lot of background information on its lifestyle. So notice this is a big document. I do not expect you to read all of this. However, the anatomy is always going to give you some information about the physiology, about the function. So if you're curious, right, especially most individuals are curious about the birthing process with the pouch. After all, this is a marsupial. So that section, if you're interested in that, definitely read it, right? Opossum milk production and all of that. Scent marking, vocalizations. Opossums are fascinating creatures, and you've got pages and pages of information. Again, you're not going to have time to read all of it, so skim through it, but find the parts that you're interested in, because when you make something interesting to yourself, it's easier to learn about. So the anatomy is going to sink in better when you hear some interesting facts about it. So that's that document. The next one that we're going to look at here is just a basic information sheet. This one's a very abbreviated view of the opossum, which is this tab right here. Just some basic understanding of the opossum. So this kind of a faraway view, not in detail. It gives you the taxonomy, which is always good to look at, physical description, diet, very just meat and potatoes information on the opossum. So go through that pretty quickly just to get some basics about the opossum. Okay, anatomical and radiographic study on the skull and mandible of the common opossum. So that's this one right here. This one's a really cool one. This is an article in a journal, so it's very research based. However, what I like about this one is that it does have some really good anatomical pictures that are numbered for you with a key right here. So you can look at the key and you can see what those numbers are. Now, this is in a lot more detail than what I expect you to know. So ignore the things that are not on your list of terms regarding the test. But this is what I suggest you do. Click on this picture, for example, and here you have a number 1, and you ask yourself, okay, what is that bone right there? Would I know what that is if it showed up on my test? And then get out of that and notice right there it tells you, all right, number 1 is the premaxilla, which is definitely on your list of terms. So this is kind of cool. You can do this for several of these pictures. Again, a lot more detail than what you need to know. But for all of these pictures, it's got the numbers on the picture and then the key underneath. And then when you click on it, it'll hide the key from you. So it's a good practice for you to test yourself for the test information. Okay, here we go. So we've got the fauna of Australia, which is going to be this one right here. Now this one's interesting because, of course, these are Australian marsupials for the most part. But if you're interested in the Australian ones, this is another really in-depth document. So, the kangaroo and stuff like that. If you're interested in all of that and that type of anatomy and you want to compare that to the opossum, then this would be a great document to go through the different characteristics of these other marsupials and compare it to what you learned about with the opossum. And the last one is this cat and opossum skeleton. We're going to use this again when we look at the cat in a few weeks. But for right now, just click on it and start looking at it. Where did it go? Let's see. Okay, just start looking at it, and right here, what's nice about this one, and this is why I want you to look at this for sure, is that here you have the cat on the left and the opossum on the right, and you can see that the opossum is plantigrade, which we talked about in the video lecture, which means the heel is touching the ground with the phalanges. The cat, on the other hand, is digitigrade, meaning that the digits are touching the ground, but the heel is up in the air right there. You can see that. So they do have a different posture as they're walking. Now, this gives the cat a lot more space underneath its abdomen in relation to the ground, and you can see the opossum is much closer to the ground with its abdomen. The other really good picture here, which you make a note of, you should make a note of, is this epipubic bone right there that is sticking out. And that epipubic bone is a characteristic of marsupials, which we do not see in eutherian mammals. So that is what that epipubic bone looks like. In the video lecture, it was hard to see the detail of what that looked like, but this picture does a really good job of that. So please note that and look at the other stuff as well. And then, of course, we're going to use this again for the cat. Okay, so in summary, what you should be doing is getting your documents ready up here, watching the lecture right there, and then clicking through all of these online virtual labs in order to explore further the list of terms and go past the list of terms if it's in your curiosity. But if you don't have time, stick to your list of terms and try to make sure that you're ready for the test. Good luck.